The following training is sponsored by the Niagara Library System. We serve our member libraries in Niagara, Orleans, and Genesee counties. You can always visit our main web page listed here at niagara.org, or certainly visit your local library homepage and use your library card to get access to streaming videos, downloadable music, audiobooks, ebooks, and even more from the comfort of your own home. Thank you.
Hello. So here we are again, and I have noticed that I did my soft skills opposites. I released them, a couple of them in the wrong order, but we are on adaptability versus inflexibility. So that's okay. I haven't doubled myself, so that's good. All right. So as always, here I start with my references. So I will put them in the description of the video. Please feel free to go and take a look at the originals. And as always, I've tried to condense down a few things that I found interesting to kind of encapsulate and let you get on with your day. So I started with the LinkedIn website. Mr. John Whitehead wrote an interesting post about how flexible are you? And he starts with this, and I thought this was very good. He says, I read somewhere recently that soft skills have become today's hard skills. This is something to think about as we move further into the information age and away from the industrial age. It's not that we will do away with hard skills. Trades, factories, mining, computer programming, the list goes on and on and on, will still be around, and those working in them will always need hard technical skills to do their jobs. But more and more, even for occupations in those trades, soft skills are being recognized as a critical component of the whole worker. Two of the most important soft skills that are coming to the forefront are adaptability and flexibility. Now, remember, we're talking about rigidity or inflexibility. Some people mistakenly think that the ability to change according to the needs of the situation or a willingness to compromise show weakness or a lack of conviction. And in reality, the ability to compromise, adapt, and change and still thrive is actually not a marker of failure, which is what he was saying. It was actually a marker of success. I like to think of this as think of a surgeon. All right. So a surgeon has to have certain hard skills. They need to know how to cut you open and get things out and put things in correctly, and then, get you back going again. So those are hard skills, but it's always really nice if a surgeon has a nice bedside manner too. Not many do. That's okay, because, you need them for other things, but it's really nice. Think of soft skills as a bedside manner versus the hard skills of the actual surgery. So, talking about all of that, I moved over to the Higher Success article, and they list a very nice synopsis of actual rigidity, especially in the workplace. They talk about inflexibility in the workplace generally falls along a wide spectrum. It varies from person to person, but here are some signs that an employee tends to be inflexible. They resist change, especially of rules and procedures, and are sometimes the last people to start complying. They would prefer to win rather than compromise. They're not as open to new ideas or approaches. If they think that someone is threatening their preferred way of working, they become very defensive. In the extreme, they may have a my way or the highway attitude. And that is now, I would say, if we're talking about a wide spectrum, that person would be super rigid. That would be very difficult, a person to work with. Okay. But fortunately, the team at the Learning Mind website write about a few coping strategies and a few things you might be able to do working with someone who's rigid or whatnot. So, and again, they kind of encapsulate what I had just said. A person with a rigid personality is, of course, inflexible. They find it hard to understand and sometimes even acknowledge differing perspectives, feelings, and ideas of other people. It can be extremely hard to reason with rigid people, and that can make life very hard. Several different scenarios are discussed throughout the article, and these include things like playing the blame game. People with rigid personalities cannot reason or have a difficult time reasoning beyond their own perspective. They will almost always be somebody to blame. There will almost always be someone else to blame. There will always be someone else to blame for anything that goes wrong, and rest assured it won't be them. And this person can be very difficult to get along with if they refuse to accept responsibility where they should. They're always searching for scapegoats. It's a problem. To try and change an innate way of thinking, a person must offload the tension that is causing them to be so inflexible. If you encounter someone who is always looking to lay blame, arguing outright is unlikely to resolve the conflict. Encourage them to take a moment, perhaps take a walk. Having some time to clear their head can diffuse some of the stress they're feeling and hopefully maybe make some progress. Okay. Rigid or inflexible personalities have unattainable expectations. Having a rigid personality is difficult for the person themselves. Okay. That's a biggie. They may set criteria and expectations for results or outcomes that are simply not achievable. In this case, they might likely be irrationally upset or disheartened if their own expectations for themselves are not met. The best thing to do when dealing with a rigid personality is to try and manage expectations calmly and rationally. They may have been told something which they perceive as gospel truth, so being able to alter their mindset to accept an alternative will take some real mental effort on their part. So the other thing is, just to add into here, is if you see, and I really like dogs and cats, and I don't mean this to be offensive to anybody in any way, but it almost feels like me, like what I've read about with clicker training with dogs and cats, and horses and other animals. If the animal, at one point there was a horse trainer who was talking about trying to get a particular horse to have the ears stand straight up, okay? And they couldn't get it done, and so they started doing clicker training, and anytime the horse had the ears anywhere near forward, they would click and give a little treat, and click and give a little treat. And within about 20 minutes, the trainer said the horse wasn't doing anything else but was moving the ears any way he could to hear that click to get the treat. If a person with a rigid personality is trying, you can see them taking a deep breath, trying to maintain expectations and trying, that can be acknowledged by you. You don't have to go effusive. Even a smile, a nod in their direction, a moment for you to take your breath, smile and nod to bring them along. These are things that you can do to help people. I run into lots of people. I've said this before. If I had a dime for any time people said, well, you need a 4-year-old or a 10-year-old to help you with tech. Oh, I can't do it. Where people have this like gospel truth that, oh, little kids can do it, but I can't. One of the big things in teaching that is, especially with adults, is getting over some of that and encouraging even the small steps to say, hey, you're here. That's fantastic. Come on along and we'll work together. That has been a huge help in many of my classes in reaching lots and lots of people. So, okay, so I got stuck on that, but I will say here, just to finish off, arguing is black and white for someone with a rigid personality. Once they've decided something is a fact, they'll struggle to change their thinking, no matter how stark the information is that is different. And we find this in lots and lots of people. So they're trying to eliminate all uncertainty. We all know uncertainty is the bane of our existence. For most people, we don't like it. It goes against, it seems to be a lot of what we have as human nature, and that's really tough. So, and then last, they talk about unnecessary confrontation. People struggling with rigid personality do not necessarily know that people think different ways. They may believe they're right and then feel compelled to impress their views on others. Now, another thing that I notice is, and this might just be me, as I got older, I kind of discovered the mantra that you have to pick your battles accordingly. It's not necessarily to have. God forbid if everybody thought, like one person or another, it would be a pretty boring world. So it just kind of rephrase, back up. That's fine, and move along to something else. Okay, if possible. So good luck. We know rigid personalities. We all display rigid tendencies too. So I hope you found this useful and informative, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.